My husband stayed chaste for his illegitimate sister. On our wedding night, he sent a beggar to take his place. Unfortunately for him, the drug wasn't strong enough. I woke up early. As his wife, I had to fulfill my husband's wishes. So I raised my hand and brought the blade down. From that day on, he never had to worry about losing his purity again. 01. I am the legitimate daughter of the general's manor. Today is my wedding day with Xiaoyu. 10 miles of red decorations, the whole city celebrating. A fierce general's daughter matched with the top scholar of the imperial exam. Everyone said it was a perfect match made in heaven. But at this moment, I was sitting alone on the bridal bed. The heavy phoenix crown and red wedding robes were suffocating. The red candles were nearly burned out. The matchmaker and maids had long withdrawn. Yet Xiaoyu hadn't even shown his face. I clenched the sleeve of my wedding dress, a deep sense of foreboding creeping into my heart. Something's wrong. My head grew heavier and heavier. The red silk canopy in front of me blurred. I tried to stand, but my legs gave out, and I collapsed back onto the bed. Just before I lost consciousness completely, I seemed to hear a faint, mocking snicker outside the door. 02. Ugh. A revolting stench assaulted my nose. I opened my eyes. In the candlelight, a hunched shadow loomed over me. Someone was on top of me. Who? Get off me. I struggled with all my might, but to my horror, I realized my limbs were limp. I didn't even have the strength to lift my hand. The man paused when he heard my voice, then let out a raspy, twisted laugh. Well, the little bride is awake. A face covered in festering sores leaned in close. His eyes were murky with lust, and his yellow teeth reeked. It wasn't Xiaoyu. It was a filthy, disgusting beggar. Help someone help me? I screamed. But my voice was so weak, I could barely hear it myself. The entire courtyard was eerily silent. No one responded. Save your energy, little lady. The beggar's coarse hand stroked my cheek. Everyone in this courtyard's already been sent away. Scream all you want, no one's coming. Best behave, and you'll suffer less. Do you know who I am? I'm the legitimate daughter of the general's manor. My father will never let you off. I tried to scare him with my status, but he just sneered and moved faster. Rip. The sound of fabric tearing. My undergarments were ripped to shreds. Cold air rushed against my bare skin. I trembled violently. Despair surged over me like a tidal wave. No. I couldn't let him win. I bit down hard on the tip of my tongue. The taste of blood filled my mouth. The sharp pain jolted my numb limbs back to life, just a little. But it wasn't enough. The beggar was already leaning down, sinking his teeth into my collarbone. So tender. He muttered obsessively, his rancid breath hot against my neck. No wonder they say noble girls are different. Disgust. Humiliation. Despair. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I stared up at the canopy embroidered with mandarin ducks. So red it looked like blood. In my ears, I could still hear the matchmaker's earlier blessings. May you have 100 years of harmony and grow old together. So this was my wedding night. 03. I stopped struggling. Instead, I tilted my neck slightly and spoke in a soft, trembling voice. Please, husband, be gentle. The beggar froze. He stared at me like he couldn't believe what he just heard. What did you call me? My lashes fluttered, and a single tear slid perfectly down my cheek. Husband, it hurts. The beggar's breathing grew heavier. He grabbed my chin and forced me to look at him. My tears shimmered under the candlelight, looking heartbreakingly delicate. He broke into a grin. Had the little lady smart. Don't worry, I'll treat you real nice. Sure enough, his movements slowed. He wasn't as rough as before. Like a beast marking territory. He left purple bite marks all along my neck and collarbone. You smell so good. His hands roamed my waist. Even better than the girls at the brothel. Just as he reached for my underwear. Click. A sharp dagger suddenly pressed against his throat. The beggar froze, his eyes wide with disbelief as he looked at me. And Miss, have mercy. His Adam's apple bobbed wildly under the tip of my blade, and his voice trembled in terror. I smiled faintly. Press down just a little. SHHK. The blade sliced his skin, and a thin line of blood appeared. Please don't kill me. He shook uncontrollably. The sharp smell of urine filled the air beneath him. I stared coldly at him. Who sent you? He clenched his teeth, eyes darting. My eyes narrowed, and I pressed harder. Splurt. Blood spurted out instantly, staining the embroidered wedding quilt. Red as a spreading blossom. I'll talk. He finally gave in. It was a woman. She gave me 50 taels of silver, told me to take your virginity. Her appearance? I didn't see clearly. She wore a veil, only showed her eyes, that's all I know, I swear. I narrowed my eyes and slowly traced my blade across his throat. Think again. I swear that's all I know. She said everything was arranged at the manor, and someone would help me leave once it's done. Please, I beg you, let me go. I'll leave the capital right away. I swear I'll never show my face again. I looked at his terrified, twisted face, and suddenly smiled. All right. The moment he showed a look of joy. Slice. I slashed his throat clean across. Gah. He clutched his neck, but blood poured through his fingers. His eyes widened in disbelief as his body collapsed, falling limp on the bed. Silent. Forever. 04. Panting heavily, I collapsed back onto the bed, my whole body drained of strength. That stab just now had nearly used up all the energy I had. Father once told me, a general must always carry a weapon to protect their life. This dagger was his coming-of-age gift to me. Its blade is thin as a cicada's wing, sharp enough to cut a strand of hair midair. I've kept it close ever since, never letting it leave my side for even a day. Today, it finally proved useful. I wiped the blood from my face and stared at the embroidered mandarin ducks on the canopy above, a cold smile slowly forming on my lips. Now all I had to do was wait for him to come. About the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, I heard a burst of flirtatious laughter from the room next door. Brother-in-law, you're so naughty. That voice. Even if I died and turned to ashes, I'd still recognize it. Su Wanru, my half-sister. Oh, little temptress. What did you just call me? Xiaoyu's voice was flirtatious, something I'd never heard from him before. Gone was the warm, gentlemanly tone I once knew. You married my wonderful sister, didn't you? That makes you my brother-in-law, doesn't it? Su Wanru giggled coyly. A night of spring bliss is worth more than gold. I even picked a strong, sturdy beggar for my dear sister. Surely you won't think I'm being too cruel? My body trembled. So that was it. The woman the beggar had mentioned was her. But what had I ever done to deserve this from her? When she lost her birth mother at 8, it was my mother who took her in. It was I who taught her to read and write, who brought her to poetry gatherings. At 13, she fell ill with a bad cold, and I stayed by her bedside all night, not sleeping for a second. Last year, for her coming-of-age ceremony, I begged our father to throw a grand celebration for her. Though we didn't share the same mother, in my heart, she was no different from a true sister. 05. I bit down hard on the tip of my tongue, forcing myself to stay calm. Then I shook the bed violently until it creaked under the strain. The noise only seemed to excite the pair next door even more. Su Wanru laughed even more smugly. Brother-in-law, sounds like sister is enjoying herself in the next room too. Xiaoyu let out a cold laugh. She's nothing but a whore. If the emperor hadn't ordered me to marry her, I wouldn't have even spared her a glance. But sister is the most beautiful woman in the capital. What if one day you... Su Wanru whined sweetly, jealousy lacing her voice. Xiaoyu chuckled softly. You little vixen. You know full well I only have room for you in my heart. I'd never touch another woman. Once I get the military seal, I'll divorce her on the spot and bring you in with a grand bridal procession. I'll make sure the whole world knows you're the one I truly love. Humph. Still pouting and jealous? Want to put a golden chain on me and keep the key? No one else could unlock it but you. You're so bad. Su Wanru purred. Then came the sound of clothes rustling and falling to the floor. Brother-in-law, be gentle, sister is still next door? The louder, the better. Xiaoyu's voice was cold and cruel. Let her know she's not even worth one of your toes. The obscene sound of bodies colliding echoed through the wall. Su Wanru's moans grew louder and louder, like she wanted the whole world to hear. A metallic taste spread through my mouth. At some point, I had bitten through my lower lip so hard it was torn and bloody. But I didn't feel any pain. In this utter humiliation, my thoughts grew strangely clear. That's right. This morning, Su Wanru had brought me a plate of rose cakes herself, smiling as she urged me to eat more. I'd seen it then, the glint in her eyes, full of malicious anticipation. Thankfully, I'd only forced down half a piece before pretending I was full and quietly set it aside. If I had eaten it all, they would have had their way with me by now. 06. It wasn't until the dead of night, around the third watch, that those two beasts finally quieted down. Su Wanru slipped away under the cover of darkness. Xiaoyu opened the door again. He walked to the bed, his eyes slithering over me like a venomous snake. When he saw the bruises all over my body, a sneer tugged at the corner of his lips. Su Xianin, don't blame me. His voice was low, but each word dripped with venom. If you must blame someone, blame your father for refusing to hand over the military seal. He shifted his gaze away and kicked the beggar lying by the bed. His tone was as dismissive as if chasing away a dog. Get up. Your job's done. Now scram. But the beggar didn't move. Xiaoyu frowned, annoyed, and reached over to grab him. The moment he saw the beggar's lifeless, bloodied face, his pupils shrank in shock. You? He whipped his head around to look at me, panic finally flickering in his eyes. But it was already too late. I tightened my grip around the bronze candlestick I had hidden beneath me and, with every ounce of strength I had left, slammed it into the back of his head. Xiaoyu groaned and staggered forward, collapsing in front of me. Dear husband, I said with a cold smile, you've been working hard all night. Time to get some rest. Slowly, I pushed myself up from the bed. This marriage had been bestowed by the emperor. If he died so soon after the wedding, the Su family would surely come under suspicion. And I still remembered what the palace matron once taught me. A woman follows her husband after marriage. Whatever her husband wishes, so too should the wife. Since his heart was so devoted to staying chaste for Su Wanru, then, as his wife, I would help him do just that. When I was young, I once watched a servant castrate a boar. One clean cut, quick and precise. Tonight was the perfect time to practice. 07. I yanked open Xiaoyu's robes. The tip of my dagger pressed against his groin, and I smiled playfully. Husband, didn't you want to stay chaste for Su Wanru? Let me help you. Eliminate the problem for good. Swish. The blade flashed like lightning. A single stroke. Blood splattered across the bright red bedding, making the scene look seductively sinister. Ah! Xiaoyu jolted awake from the searing pain, screaming in agony. He clutched his bleeding groin, thrashing on the bed like a madman. He looked exactly like the pigs I'd seen being castrated. Su Xianin, you, how dare you? I slowly wiped the blood from my dagger with the red bridal veil, smiling sweetly. Husband, no need to thank me. It's what I should do. Xiaoyu tried to call for help. I crouched down and tapped his lips with the blade. Go ahead, report me. Let the whole capital know how the top scholar became a eunuch. I'm the legitimate daughter of the general's household. My father commands 300,000 elite border troops. As long as I don't kill him, who in the capital could touch me? Besides, I was sure he wouldn't dare make this public. In our court, eunuchs aren't allowed to serve as officials. Clearly, Xiaoyu had realized that too. His veins bulged with pain, and his lips were bleeding from how hard he bit them, but he didn't dare call anyone in. Through clenched teeth, he forced out a few words. Shuxuanding. I'll kill you. Great. I'll be waiting. I chuckled and stood up, then picked up a bronze mirror from the dressing table. Husband, have a look. What do you think of my craftsmanship? Pretty clean cut, isn't it? Xiaoyu stared into the mirror and saw the mangled flesh. His entire mind collapsed. Suddenly, I had a brilliant idea. Oh right, tonight's our wedding night. I should give you a gift. I hooked the soft flesh with the tip of my blade. With a flick of my wrist, swish, swish, swish. In moments, I had carved the bloody lump into a lifelike chrysanthemum. I tossed it lightly. It landed squarely on Xiaoyu's pale face. Chrysanthemums represent purity. It suits you perfectly. Do you like it? Aha! Xiaoyu screamed joyfully. Then, overwhelmed with excitement, his eyes rolled back and he passed out. 08. His Majesty was gracious enough to grant Xiaoyu 7 days of wedding leave. I had guards posted all around the bridal chamber. No one was allowed in or out. Inside and outside the residence, rumors of our deep love spread like wildfire. After all, the sounds that came from our room every night, the kind that made faces flush and ears burn, couldn't possibly be faked. On the 3rd day, it was time for the bride's return visit. I ordered hot water for bathing to be prepared in advance. Husband, time to wash up. At the sound of my voice, Xiaoyu's whole body shuddered. Terror flooded his eyes. He shook his head desperately.
No. No.
Please don't. I sighed and pretended to be concerned. We're meeting people today. You have to look presentable. I flung back the brocade covers and roughly dragged him out of bed. Ugh. Xiaoyu trembled from the pain, too weak to even resist. Half dragging, half carrying him, I brought him to the bath I'd already prepared. Steam rose from the tub. Floating on the surface were undissolved salt crystals. Quite the aesthetic. Splash. I dumped Xiaoyu straight in. Aya! His screams were blood-curdling. I picked up a wooden ladle and leisurely poured water over his head. Husband, let me scrub you clean. Xiaoyu clung to the tub's edge. His voice shattered. Shuxuandin. I was wrong. I'm begging you, please let me go. Husband, what are you saying? I widened my eyes in mock surprise, still pouring salt water over him. Look, thanks to my daily care, your wounds are almost healed. I poked him deliberately with my fingertip. Xiaoyu nearly passed out from the pain, but the sting of the salt water kept him conscious. His eyes no longer held anger, only despair. Satisfied, I caressed his cheek. There, be good. Just hang in there a little longer. Once we return from the visit, I'll let you rest. The carriage was already prepared. The driver stood respectfully to the side. Xiaoyu forced himself up, trembling as he walked to the carriage. Just as he reached for the curtain, I called out, "Wait." He turned to glare at me, teeth clenched. What now? I beamed at him. Husband, I have a little condition. Whenever I smell another person's scent in the carriage, I get dizzy and nauseous. I might even throw up. Xiaoyu's face instantly turned ugly. I clapped lightly. Maidservant Furong led over a horse. The horse looked temperamental and snorted impatiently. Son-in-law, please mount. Furong's voice rang out, crisp and clear, drawing curious passers-by to stop and watch. Xiaoyu's hand on the curtain tightened, veins bulging. You. Son-in-law, please mount. Furong raised her voice. This is an old custom of the general's estate. A real man rides a horse in public. The crowd began to buzz. No wonder it's the general's house. Even the horses are impressive. The top scholar looks pale. Do you think he's up to it? That last comment clearly hit a nerve. Xiaoyu gritted his teeth and grabbed the saddle with a trembling hand. The horse jolted suddenly. Xiaoyu stumbled and nearly fell. I clearly heard him suck in a sharp breath from the pain. Can we go now? He asked, red-eyed, glaring at me with suppressed rage. I blinked innocently. Oh dear, we can't go empty-handed. We need to buy some gifts first. Why didn't you prepare them earlier? Xiaoyu was almost shaking with fury. I shrugged. Been a little busy these days. I forgot. He took a deep breath and forced out 2 words through clenched teeth. Hurry up. Then, I dragged Xiaoyu all around the capital. We bought osmanthus cakes in the East Market, braised pork knuckles in the West, aged rice wine in the South, and filled a whole cart with shoe brocade from the north. By the time the sun set, we finally arrived at the general's residence. Xiao Yu practically rolled off the horse, his legs clearly numb from pain. Thud. He collapsed forward into a perfect 5-point prostration. My father, who was waiting on the steps to welcome us, was so startled he took 2 steps back, his beard curling up in shock. There's no need for such a grand gesture. A crowd had gathered at the gates, eager to watch the show. Looks like the rumors were true. Our top scholar is nothing more than a live-in son-in-law. Wasn't he just a poor scholar before? Marrying the general's daughter is the luck of a lifetime. Hey, when they have a child, will the kid take Su's surname or Zhao's? Xiao Yu had always been known for his lofty pride. This single kneel completely shattered his image. He tried to get up but couldn't. I held back my laughter and hauled him to his feet. Husband, father understands your sincerity. Come now, get up. He had no choice but to lean all his weight on me just to stay standing. To onlookers, we looked deeply affectionate. Standing behind us, Su Wanru was wringing the silk handkerchief in her hands so hard it was about to rip.
09.
At the family banquet, Xiao Yu sat at the table, his face pale, fingers trembling slightly, barely able to hold his chopsticks steadily. My father, his face flushed with warmth, enthusiastically greeted him. Xianin said you love crab the most, so I specially ordered some from Jiangnan, rushed here by fast horses. Each one is fat and full of roe. Dear son-in-law, do you like them? Xiao Yu's Adam's apple bobbed as he forced out a faint smile. Like. I smiled and picked up a golden, glossy crab, cracked the shell, dipped it in ginger vinegar, and gently placed it into Xiao Yu's bowl. Husband, eat more. It's not easy to find such plump crabs this season. Xiao Yu's brow furrowed tightly, enough to catch a fly. He closed his eyes, struggling to swallow the crab meat. I softly clapped my hands, and immediately 4 or 5 maids came forward, deftly peeling crab for him. Before long, Xiao Yu's plate piled high with crab meat like a small mountain. Husband, eat quickly. I urged softly. If you don't eat it soon, it'll get cold. Xiao Yu's expression grew more and more displeased. His body was subtly shifting away, as if something under the table was bothering him. I glanced downward. Su Wanru's embroidered shoe was quietly brushing against his calf, inching upward, almost reaching a far more dangerous spot.
Bang.
Xiao Yu suddenly stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. Son-in-law, what's wrong? My father asked, puzzled. Xiao Yu's voice trembled slightly. Wife, I want to switch seats. I want to sit closer to father-in-law, so I can learn from him better. Su Wanru's face instantly paled, biting her lip as her gaze toward Xiao Yu filled with accusation. But Xiao Yu had no time to care about her now. His wound, aggravated by this provocation, must be hurting so much he was close to fainting. Smack! Su Wanru threw down her chopsticks, her voice breaking with tears. Father, sister, I don't feel well. I'm leaving first. Before anyone could react, she hastily lifted her skirt and fled out. However, no one paid her any mind.
10.
I smiled brightly and swapped seats with Xiao Yu. Seeing this, my father happily patted Xiao Yu's shoulder. Honestly, I didn't think much of you at first. Such a slight frame. How could you bring happiness to my daughter? But seeing you two so loving today, I'm relieved. My father waved his hand. Servants immediately brought several jars of wine. Lifting the lid, a rich aroma of wine filled the air. Come on, tonight the two of us won't get drunk and leave no excuses. Otherwise you're not giving me face. This sentence immediately shut down Xiao Yu's hesitant refusal. My father laughed meaningfully. This is specially prepared deer antler wine for you. Drinking it will strengthen your body. He leaned close to Xiao Yu and lowered his voice. You need to hurry up and hurry and have a child so I can teach him martial arts and take him to war in the future. Xiao Yu's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. But my father was completely unaware, still cheerfully pouring wine for him. Seeing Xiao Yu only dared to sip cautiously. My father instantly became displeased. Son-in-law, why do you drink wine like a woman, all timid and quiet? Saying this, he took away Xiao Yu's cup and pushed the whole wine jar in front of him. If you're a man, drink straight from the jar. Xiao Yu's face went even paler, hesitating without moving. After all, if he drank this whole jar, his wound would flare up again. My father's face turned stern, the battle-hardened killing aura making everyone uneasy.
What?
Not giving me face. Xiao Yu could only compromise. Jar after jar. Soon he collapsed at the table, unconscious. My father proudly stroked his beard. Daughter, this man of yours is useless. He's drunk so badly after just a few cups. While I wasn't paying attention, he secretly grabbed the remaining wine Xiao Yu hadn't finished, about to drink it himself. Father, I glared at him. He awkwardly put down the jar, licking his lips with a face full of grievance. Fine, I won't drink it then. Saying that, he sulkily gulped down the wine in front of him. Drinking so much water makes me thirsty. Daughter, why did you make me get this guy drunk? Such a waste of good wine. I smiled. I'll take my husband back to rest first. See you in the study later. 11. Just as we reached the corridor, a flash of emerald green skirt corner slipped past the corner. I took Xiao Yu from the servant's arms. You all may leave now. I'll take care of my husband. They understood and withdrew. I held Xiao Yu close, resting his head on my shoulder, then slowly pushed open the door. I purposely left it ajar, through the half-open crack. Sure enough, Su Wanru was hiding outside, spying. I lowered the bed curtain, deliberately making soft rustling sounds. Husband, you're drunk. Let me take care of you. I quickly untied Xiao Yu's robe belt. Husband, don't touch there. I let out a coy, teasing sound. Taking the chance, I flipped over and straddled Xiao Yu. He groaned painfully along with me. Then, I shook the bed vigorously, the creaking sound echoing through the room. With Xiao Yu's unconscious moans, it really sounded like something was happening. Husband, be gentle. I squeezed my voice to sound even more seductive, pressing hard on Xiao Yu's injured flesh, forcing him to groan louder.
Bang.
Suddenly, sounds came from outside the door, followed by stifled sobs and hurried footsteps, leaving in panic. Only then did I stop, smirking as I got off Xiao Yu. He frowned tightly, blood starting to seep again from his lower body, looking very much in pain. Husband, don't you want to marry Su Wanru? Then I'll help you.
These past days,
I had deliberately arranged for our intimate moments to be known by Su Wanru. She was furious. The porcelain in the room had already been changed several times. At today's banquet, she originally wanted to confront Xiao Yu, but couldn't get close to him. Combined with what she just saw firsthand, now she was about to lose control.
12.
My father sat in his chair, repeatedly tapping the table. Daughter, what exactly do you want to say? I took a deep breath and explained everything one by one about Xiao Yu's secret affair with Su Wanru and the real purpose behind the arranged marriage. Bastard. My father jumped up in anger, pulling the treasured sword hanging on the wall. I'll go kill that dog right now. I hurried forward to stop him. Dad, please don't rush. I've already taught him a lesson. My father's eyebrows furrowed sharply, his anger boiling over as he demanded, How did you teach him? I made a slight downward, chopping motion with my hand. At first, my father was stunned, then his eyes widened, and suddenly he burst out laughing loudly. Good. That's my good daughter. Well done cutting him down.
I was still somewhat worried.
But the Emperor, what if? My father waved his hand, cutting off my concern. What is there to fear? Your old man hasn't been eating grass all these years. He turned and took out a bronze military tally from a hidden compartment. Weighing it in his palm, he said, If that person wants it, then I'll just give it to him directly. No need to rely on others. He rubbed my hair affectionately, eyes full of love. Daughter, rest assured. No matter if the sky falls, your old man will bear it for you. Do whatever you want. Tears welled up in my eyes. Luckily, I had a father who believed in me unconditionally. Really no need for me to deal with that guy myself? My father was still reluctant, fingers stroking the sword hilt, eager to act. I shook my head. Don't worry, Dad. I have my own way to make him suffer worse than death. My father sighed deeply, full of regret. You've had it tough. If I had known he was this kind of man, I would have risked defying the Emperor and never let you marry him. Dad. I wiped my eyes and said seriously, there's one more thing. What is it? About Su Wanru's marriage. My father's face darkened. After a long silence, he finally said softly, I'll listen to you. He turned to look out the window, his figure seeming especially aged. That girl ultimately disappointed your mother's hopes. 13. The day after I returned to my marital home, my father submitted his resignation. The Emperor pretended to refuse repeatedly. Finally, he reluctantly accepted the military tally. To show his mercy, he personally wrote a decree granting my father the honorary title of Marquis of Courage and Resolve. He even added a hereditary grace privilege. But the capital's people mocked my father. After all, he only had 2 daughters, so the hereditary title was more of an embarrassment. The Marquis's mansion grew increasingly quiet. My father claimed illness and shut himself away. In the meantime, over the past 2 months, Xiaoyu used his cunning to thrive in the Hanlin Academy. The Emperor often summoned him to the palace for discussions. Boxes of treasures were constantly delivered to the Xiao household. He was now the Emperor's favorite. He had thought about revenge on me, but his methods were limited. Either poison or house arrest. The secret guards my father left me were not to be underestimated. For now, he couldn't touch me. The political turmoil in court arrived sooner than expected. The reformist officials, led by the chief censor, jointly submitted a memorial, urging the emperor to decide on the crown prince soon. The emperor was 58 this year. The princes were in their prime, each scheming. Meanwhile, the neighboring country began to stir, their cavalry pressing the border overnight. The crown prince and the second prince nearly came to blows in the Golden Hall. Whoever controlled the army was one step closer to the throne. The candles in the Yangxin Palace never went out all night. The emperor suffered headaches daily. After much deliberation, he realized the safest choice was to give the military tally to my father. My father had no sons and little political savvy. He was just a reckless warrior focused on fighting. Unfortunately, at this critical moment, my father suddenly fell ill. The emperor was frantic. Imperial doctors and tonics flooded the Marquis's mansion like water. After 7 days of treatment, my father barely managed to get out of bed. The tally was returned. My father was made the protector general of the nation. And by riding on my father's coattails, I was granted the title of Princess Anning. 14. To demonstrate favor, the emperor specially held a farewell banquet for my father. Xiaoyu was surrounded by sons of noble families, his pale face contrasting with his light green brocade robe. Zhao Mingde, son of the Minister of War, was the first to speak up, deliberately raising his voice. Lord Xiao, that robe really suits you. Was it a gift from the princess? He tugged at Xiaoyu's sleeve. That fabric must have cost at least 100 taels of silver per bolt. The others chimed in. Exactly, if you ask me. Lord Xiao should just stay home and raise kids. No need to attend court. Lord Xiao's dark complexion and pale face. Could it be he's infertile? Haha. My family has a secret recipe for fertility. If Lord Xiao asks nicely, I might consider sharing it. Laughter erupted in the hall. Xiaoyu's face shifted from blue to white, then red. Clear the way. Zhao Mingde smirked.
Oh.
Getting angry now? Usually, those who live off soft meals have to have good tempers to please the princess. Brother Zhao, you're wrong. Lord Xiao is pioneering a new level of hard-eating soft rice. The laughter grew louder. Xiaoyu grabbed Zhao Mingde's collar. Say that again. Zhao Mingde didn't struggle, but sneered mockingly. Lord Xiao wants to fight? Think carefully. I'm not someone you can afford to offend. I cleared my throat just in time. Xiaoyu instantly let go as if burned. Under everyone's mocking gaze, he left awkwardly, sleeves brushing past. I caught sight of Su Wanru's personal maid, Suelio, sneakily following behind him. The real show was about to begin. 15. Princess, you're in such a good mood today. The eldest daughter of Ministerly noticed the smile at the corner of my lips and leaned in curiously. I gently fanned myself with a round fan. Would you all like to come with me to enjoy the blossoms? The century-old peach tree in the back garden is in full bloom today. What's even better? I paused meaningfully. A pair of wild mandarin ducks have flown onto the tree. At this, the group's eyes sparkled with unspoken understanding. They quietly followed me as I moved around the artificial hill. Suddenly, we heard Xiao Yu's anxious voice. Wanru, is what's on the note true? Do you really carry my child? Everyone instantly held their breath, afraid to disturb the juicy scandal. Xiaolang. Su Wanru's voice trembled with tears. If it weren't for the child I bear, would you ever have come to see me? Do you know father has already arranged a marriage for me in Jiangnan? She suddenly raised her voice. Tell me, have you fallen in love with that wretched Su Xianin? Xiao Yu hurriedly comforted her. How could that be? I hate that poisonous woman Wanru. I've been trying every day these past 2 months to contact you, but the general's mansion is heavily guarded. I sneered inwardly. Ever since my father returned the military token, Su Wanru lost all value to Xiao Yu. For 2 months, Xiao Yu was scheming at court while seeking doctors everywhere, trying to fabricate a lie. He had long since forgotten Su Wanru completely. If she hadn't had a child, how could Xiao Yu have risked meeting her in the back garden? Su Wanru shyly rubbed her belly. It's been 2 months, the night you married Su Xianin. Xiao Yu was ecstatic. This is wonderful. I have an heir, but father will soon marry me off to Jiangnan. Don't worry, I'll find a way. I will never let the child call another man father. Everyone looked at me with pity, as if I had grass growing on my head. I couldn't help but laugh softly. Startled, the two behind the hill quickly separated. Su Wanru turned and screamed when she saw me. How are you here? I clearly told Suelio to. I raised my voice. Suelio, your mistress is calling you. Suelio immediately stepped forward. With swift strikes, she slapped Su Wanru twice. How dare you meet the princess without greeting her properly? Xiao Yu's eyes blazed with fury. Poisonous woman, what are you doing? I pulled out a stack of letters from my sleeve. Everyone look. These past 2 months, how many love letters has my dear sister written to my husband? The letters fluttered down like snowflakes, each one full of Su Wanru's endless affection. The crowd looked at the two with increasing disdain.
16.
I said casually. Someone, bring the red flower. No. Su Wanru collapsed weakly to the ground. Xiaolang, save me. Xiao Yu shielded her and shouted hysterically. You think it's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? Even if you're the princess, you must follow etiquette. Wanru is carrying my child. You should treat her politely and welcome her. I untied the 9-section whip from my waist. I wanted to spare your face. If you lost this child, maybe I would give you another chance.
But it seems you have no shame.
I swung the whip hard. The pale blue robe tore on impact. Underneath, a bloody wound appeared.
Ah!
Xiao Yu cried out in pain and staggered backward. How could he possibly match me? I grew up in the military camp with my father. This whip technique was honed on the training grounds, strike after strike. After just 7 or 8 rounds, Xiao Yu was bruised and bleeding, his clothes barely covering him.
Ah!
Suddenly, a noble lady covered her face and screamed, pointing at Xiao Yu's lower body. He actually, mother, I'm not pure anymore. Everyone looked over. Where a man's pride should have been was only an ugly scar. Xiao Yu frantically covered himself and lunged at me like a madman. You slut, I'll kill you. I sidestepped and kicked him hard, knocking him to the ground. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. His eyes looked at me as if poisoned. Hate? What use is hate from the powerless? Suelio. I flicked the blood off my whip. Go tell my father I want a divorce. In the main hall of the front courtyard. Before the news even reached the emperor, my father clutched his chest and collapsed, wailing, "I can't even protect my own daughter. What use is fighting anymore?" He trembled as he tried to hand over the military token. The emperor was visibly shaken. He issued a decree stripping Xiaoyu of all his titles and approved my request for divorce. Xiaoyu became the first man in our dynasty to be formally divorced. Quite an achievement. That night, I had Su Wanru thrown into the Xiao mansion. I had promised I would help Xiaoyu marry Su Wanru. 17. 1 month later, Su Wanru died. White banners fluttered in front of the Xiao mansion, yet not a single mourner was in sight. When I reached the gate, I overheard Xiaoyu screaming hysterically inside. "Everyone get lost. That slut deserved to die." In the morning hall, Su Wanru's body was hastily covered with a white cloth. I lifted a corner. Her eyes were wide open, full of unwillingness. Her body was bruised and battered. She looked to have died miserably. "Princess, please accept my condolences." The steward knelt trembling nearby. I asked coldly, "Who did this?" The steward shook even more violently. It was the master. He hired some beggars." I pointed angrily at Xiaoyu standing to the side. "Xiaoyu, not sparing even his own flesh and blood. Take him to the authorities." Xiaoyu struggled as he was dragged away. "You're all sluts." I suppressed a smile at the corner of my mouth. Xiaoyu had paid a high price to have a child. Of course he needed to be absolutely sure. No matter how many doctors he consulted, they all gave the same verdict. Su Wanru had only been pregnant for 1 month. Xiaoyu went mad. He ordered 10 beggars to take turns punishing Su Wanru. That's how she died. Murder must be punished, especially since the victim was the daughter of the general's mansion. The day before Xiaoyu died, I went to see him in the dungeon. He was chained to the wall. Hearing a noise, he suddenly lifted his head. "It's you." His voice was hoarse. "This was all your scheme." I nodded, looking at him approvingly. "I did bribe those doctors. And yes, the child was yours, exactly 2 months along." Xiaoyu trembled violently. You poisonous woman." "I'm not as poisonous as you." I stepped back, enjoying the twisted expression on his face. "I only told a few lies, but you killed your only child. Besides, a foul bloodline like yours doesn't deserve to continue."
Ah.
Xiaoyu suddenly erupted, chains clanging loudly. His whole body convulsed violently. Black blood poured out crazily from his 7 orifices. The prison guard checked his breath and reported, "Princess, he is dead." As I turned to leave, I heard the guard whisper quietly behind me, "Serves him right." I looked up to the sky. I had heard the scenery beyond the frontier was far grander than in the capital. Then I shall go see it.
The end.